When we first started the NCSL season, there are more than 120 teams that are vying for what these 12 squads are going to be fighting for here in today's episode, a right to be called a national champion. But this is an historic national championship, not only in that we are entering a new age of college football, but for the very first time we are seeing 12 teams being bestowed the opportunity directly to compete for that national championship. Welcome to the NCSL series here on NCAA 14, which does utilize that college football revamp. And what we are going to do here today is, in the course of one episode, we are going to crown a champion. And I'm sure it's going to be an amazing championship underway, but I hope you enjoy this entire ride. If you agree with me, do a couple of things for me. Go ahead and hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button if you happen to be brand new to the channel. And without further ado, let's go dive in to the first round matchups that are happening on home campuses around the country. Let's go dive into it. So without any further delay, let's now go ahead and jump into that college football playoffs. Starting with our first round matchups, we begin with the champions of the ACC in Virginia Tech. Well, they will be taking on the Buckeyes of Ohio State. And it looks like this Ohio State Buckeyes team is poised to make another national championship run. They're already up 6-0 as Brooks Hicks gonna drop back the pass. Look over the middle of the field, and he will end up finding Brad Wood for a solid 12-yard gain on the play. And it will set up yet another first down opportunity as the Buckeyes look for their first touchdown of the college football playoff. Brooks Hicks runs through multiple defenders on his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State. And the Buckeyes will take the lead yet again. They have a 13-0 lead already, and they have yet another red zone opportunity that they will capitalize on. Brooks Hicks is running like a certified dangerous man as this Ohio State team quickly takes a 20-0 lead into the second quarter. However, Virginia Tech will eventually find their way onto the scorecard. They will get a field goal early in this second quarter of action, but Ohio State on the very next drive gonna roll back with Brooks Hicks, gonna pass it instead of running it into the end zone. He'll find Brandon Burks as Ohio State ends up dominating in this first round matchup. The Buckeyes win 55-31 as Ohio State will move on to the second round of the college football playoff to take on Army. But that being considered, we now move on to other parts of the first round. And we have a big-time matchup here. Georgia, the champions of the SEC Conference, they are going to be taking on the champions of the Sun Belt in the Ole Miss Rebels. This, of course, is going to be your 8 versus 9 seed matchup, one in which Ole Miss, as the slightly higher seed, they will be hosting on their campus. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the action here early in this first quarter of action as Eric Archie is going to take the pitch out to the corner. He's got Justin Florida. He's got some space on the outside and eventually gets pushed out of bounds. But inside the 35-yard line as Ole Miss is putting together a really strong opening drive here in the quarterfinals as Eric Archie finds his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Ole Miss. And the Rebels will take a 7-0 lead. Later on in the first quarter, Georgia is only able to respond with a field goal of their own. And Archie's boys are coming back out onto the field. Gets a nice throw over to the right-hand side. That is completed to Lewis Kelly for an 18-yard reception. That puts the Rebels at about midfield. As again, Archie's dropping back the pass. He's feeling himself, facing the blitz, but gets it out to Justin Florida, who's able to make a man miss in the open field as well. So now back in Georgia territory once again as Eric Archie is ready to drop back the pass. He's looking around. He's going to throw to the right-hand side. That's a dime to Dedrick Hill for 35 yards. Touchdown, Ole Miss. And the Rebels are going to extend their lead. An emphatic first half for this Ole Miss squad. And it looks like in the second quarters, things are about to get much better too. Second quarter, Archie's going to pitch it out to Justin Forwerda. He'll score as well, as Justin Forwerda will add on to the lead for the Ole Miss Rebels. They're going to now make it 21-3, being your score. So Georgia in desperate need of getting some points on the board and getting it badly. Thankfully, they set up a really good halfback screen. And that's going to get Elliott Hartman out into the open field, a 24-yard reception. Now, setting up a goal line opportunity. It helps Georgia set up their first touchdown drive of the game as Elliott Hartman will punch it into the end zone. Great work by the offensive line as well. So, that being said, Ole Miss is still up 21-10 though. Georgia's got to get some stops on defense, and they are just not doing that right now. Charles Rhodes is going to be wide butt naked open down the sideline. It's good for a 35-yard catch. So, Rebels are back in the red zone again, and Georgia just cannot stop anything right now. They have no answers defensively as Justin Forwerda, he's going to have his second rushing touchdown of the first round of college football playoff. And Ole Miss is up big again, 28-10. They're going to need to put a lot of pressure on this offense, who is going to go to Neely to get them just outside of the red zone. But the drive will end up stalling out, however, so Georgia will have to settle for yet another field goal. In these types of games, field goals are not nearly as valuable as what they normally would be, because the Ole Miss offense is flying high. We'll see if that continues here in this 2-minute drill, as Archie will try to drop back the pass, but will be dropped in the backfield. Will set up a 3rd and 6, but they will end up converting anyways. But a few plays later, Archie again stumbling initially, but ends up finding Stephen Castillo eventually. Good for 20 there. And now looking at a 3rd and long, Archie looks over the middle, finds his receiver, and he's still on his feet down the sideline. And Sean Moore is going to score. Touchdown, Ole Miss. And an emphatic first half for the Ole Miss Rebels. One that will see Eric Archie break the school record for most touchdown passes in a single season. It will be broken by none other than Jackson Dart. So some elite company that Eric Archie is around, and Ole Miss has a massive lead, 35-13. How will Georgia be competitive in this game? They're just going to have to take it one play, one drive at a time. Georgia at least gets the ball to start the second half, however, so going to look over the middle and finds his receiver, will get them into the red zone, and even creates a goal line situation. Sean Garcia will have his guys out for a field goal attempt. The kick is up, and that kick is going to be good. So, again, Georgia had a good drive there early in the second half, but can't do anything with it, however. So, that being said, a 19-point game, and there it is, another touchdown for Ole Miss, this time being Dedrick Hill finding the end zone. Hill set a school record as well for most receiving yards in a season. That breaks the 2018 record from A.J. Brown. And Ole Miss will obviously roll in this game. We're not going to even worry about showing that fourth quarter. Ole Miss wins convincingly 42-16 and will take on Washington in quarterfinals. So just 2 more first round games to go, and we'll now see a conference champion in Colorado. They're representing Florida Mountain West. They will be taking on UCLA. UCLA coming in as an at-large, one of 2 at-large teams in this college football playoff. And UCLA is rolling here early on. They already put up 16 against a Colorado team that is more than capable of being explosive in their own right. But Brian Daniels, he'll run into the end zone all by himself. He'll go ahead and put up another touchdown on the scoreboard. Actually surprised that they didn't end up going for that 2-point conversion at all. Figured they would try to make it a nice and clean 17-point game, but maybe those points will not be necessary given the current game flow. UCLA up big 26-7 as Brian Daniels will drop back the pass yet again on another red zone opportunity and find the end zone yet again. Brian Daniels leads a dominant performance in the first half as his offense puts up 57 on the Colorado Buffaloes, as the Buffaloes never had a shot to win this game, it seems like. We'll see UCLA in the quarterfinals taking on Florida State. So that being said, we have one more first round matchup. It's going to be the Nebraska Cornhuskers, your number 10 seed and champions of the American Conference. They'll be taking on the Volunteers of Tennessee, and the Tennessee Volunteers coming in as your number 7 overall seed in this college football playoff, and also the number 9 ranked team in all of college football as well. That's why you see this game at a snowy Neyland Stadium. But we still have no score here in early in this first quarter. As how about this run? Chomel getting out of all of that traffic, and now it's a foot race down the sideline. Eventually caught from behind, but Tim Wilson gets his guys out of perilous positioning. And now Tennessee has a drive of their own, looking to finish it off with a big touchdown grab, and there it is. Andrew Adams completes a 95-yard touchdown drive that puts Tennessee up 7-0. But right before the end of the first quarter, though, Nebraska will answer with a touchdown of their own as William Butler will find the end zone for the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. So we now have a tied ball game, 7-all, and remains tied for much of the second quarter. But with less than 4 minutes left, one of the best running backs in the country, Tim Hayden, is going to get the carry and punch it into the end zone. Touchdown, Nebraska! And the Cornhuskers will now have a 14-7 lead. That remains the case for the next couple of minutes as Nebraska is putting together yet another drive, but the quarterback, Brian Robinson, puts the ball on the ground. You absolutely hate to see it. Is that first out? If he would have just slid, he would have been in field goal range automatically. That's points being left off the table, and now Tennessee has a chance to tie. But wait a minute, there's a fumble of their own on the field, and this could go all the way. Yes, it is. Nebraska is going to have a scoop and score. It'll take a 2-touchdown lead into the half. Tennessee will answer back with a couple of field goals, but 5 minutes left in the third quarter, though. We got a return on hand. This could go the distance, but will eventually be pushed down at about midfield. Great return by Mark Bryant. So giving a short field to a Nebraska offense that is very explosive in its own right, well, that's just a recipe for disaster if you're the other team. Brian Robinson leads his guys all the way down the field. They'll find the end zone for yet another touchdown. Nebraska is looking to open this game wide but naked open. 28-13 is your score as they'll hand it off to the backup tailback who breaks a couple of tackles, and now this could go for major yardage. Tim Hayden picks up 22, and what we thought we were going to see him being dropped in the backfield. So way to create something out of nothing, and Nebraska looking to score yet again, and they will with Brent Keeve, a tight end. And Brian Robinson has been absolutely proficient and efficient as well. 17 for 20, and that's now his third passing touchdown of the game. So 35-13, now your score as the Tennessee Volunteers look to answer back, try to get back into the game. And at this point, you're just gonna have to send it deep downfield and hope for the best. That's exactly what Tennessee did right there as Tim Landrum, he'll throw his second passing touchdown of the game. They will also go for that 2-point conversion as well, as Landrum is going to hand it off, but will be denied by the Nebraska front seven. So the 2-point conversion is not successful. And now all Nebraska has to do at this point is run out the rest of this clock. But hang on now, even late in the game, this offensive line is still going to work as Tennessee now has to start using its timeouts. Unfortunately, you got to actually stop this rushing attack if you want to make those timeouts count, as the Volunteers now run out of timeouts. So Nebraska could run out the rest of his clock, or they could just go ahead and get a little bit of style points. Let Texas know, who is awaiting for them in the second round, that hey, we can play some really good football up here in Nebraska. I hope you're ready for a very physical game. And sure enough, Nebraska plays extremely well, going on the road in Neyland Stadium, pulling off a minor upset. They win 42-19, and we'll have a rematch from the regular season as well, as Nebraska will end up taking on the Texas Longhorns in the quarterfinals. So that will end up wrapping up the first round of the NCSL playoffs, and so far, we haven't seen competitive games yet. The 4 games that we saw so far have been blowouts, but now we're starting to get down to the cream of the crop. 12 teams has been narrowed down to 8, and all 8 teams that are in this stage of the college football playoff know more than anything that's only going to get tougher from here on out. So with that being said, let's now dive into the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. So let's go ahead and jump into the quarterfinals of the college football playoff, and we will start with Ole Miss. Coming off of that big time win against Georgia, well, now they get to go to the Rose Bowl, and they will be taking on this Washington Huskies football team, who not only is the #1 seed in this college football playoff, but they are also the #1 team in the entire country. So Ole Miss is certainly going to have its hands full in this particular matchup, as we'll get this quarterfinal started with, how about this, an opening drive for the Ole Miss Rebels, ending in a 17-yard touchdown for Justin Fawerda, and the Ole Miss Rebels are actually going to be the underdog that will strike first. So now Washington will have to try to respond, as Adam Castillo going to run that triple option. He's going to get his receiver out into the open space. Actually picks up a pretty good chunk of yards there. Adrian Nicholas picks up a gain of 14 there, as Washington Huskies will steadily drive down the length of the field. Gets inside the 30-yard line. Adam Castillo had to throw the ball early. He underthrows it, and that's going to be costly, as Castillo will end up being intercepted in the red zone as well. So a great opportunity for Ole Miss ends up being lost. So for now, Washington is still down 7-0, as Castillo again leading his guys down the length of the field. But when this Ole Miss team gets into the red zone, they are not breaking by any means. 2 red zone opportunities for the Washington Huskies only leads to 3 points in total. We'll see if that hurts them in the foot later. As now, midway through the second quarter of action, Washington will drop back the pass with Castillo trying again to throw over to that left-hand side, and he will be intercepted there too, as that will be picked off this time by Bryson Miller, who runs step by step with the receiver, almost ran the route for him, it seemed like. He also got a pretty decent return on that catch as well. And the Ole Miss Rebels are driving once again, trying to get some points off of the turnover. They're going to run the speed option over to the left-hand side. Gets it out to Justin Fawerda, who's pushed out of bounds, but gets inside the 15-yard line, as they'll eventually create a goal line opportunity. Running that trusty read option, Eric Archie finds the end zone for Ole Miss. Touchdown Rebels! And the Ole Miss football team is going to make it 14-3. A dominating affair overall in the first half. And they're going to continue that in the second half, as Washington does end up going 3 and out to start the second half. And quickly, Ole Miss is going to capitalize. This time, Neil Austin finds the end zone for Ole Miss, as it looks like the Rebels could be pulling off a pretty moderate upset, but Washington is not going to quit, at least not yet. Eric Archie is going to be intercepted by Chris Terrell. That is a big time interception needed by their experienced linebacker. And we'll see if this Washington offense can finally get it going here. Later on in the fourth quarter, they face a critical 4th down. They must pick it up. Dropping back, looks over to the left-hand side. It's caught Danny Nicholson not only getting the first down, he's also going to get a touchdown as well, as the Washington Huskies, they are not done yet. 3:21 left to go. They cut it down to just a 2-possession ball game. So that means we will likely see them go for the onside kick. We'll see how the onside kick ends up going, and he had a decent bounce on it, but shout out to the hands team and specifically Charles Rhodes for bringing that one in. So now Ole Miss is in a position to run out the rest of his clock, especially if they can pick up this first down on the ground, have a couple of broken tackles. How did he get out of all that? That is insane. Houdini act for Justin Ferwerda, who never quit on the play. And a man that's averaging 9 yards a carry, he's been an absolute problem. We'll see if they hand it to him again. Yes, they do. Justin Ferwerda will find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Rebels. And it looks like the fat lady, she might be starting to warm up those vocals right about now. Washington gonna need nothing short than a miracle to come back and just to force overtime. I'm not even talking about winning the game. I'm talking about getting some overtime action. That will certainly help him though. Andy Curtis with a huge return. But here's the difference. You see the stats for both of the teams. Ole Miss has a slight lead over Washington in terms of total yards, but Ole Miss has just been better in the red zone today. That's been that $1 million difference. And turnovers, of course, as this pass, I think that's going to seal, at least make this a formality that we have already been made aware of. Brandon Williams going to pick off Adam Castillo yet again, his third interception thrown of the ball game. And it looks like Lane Kiffin, he will be earning his 200th career win in the NCSL, as Ole Miss ends up winning 31-10 being your final score. Looks like that national championship is pretty open after all. So we'll see if some of these other top seeds in the tournament can avoid the same fate as what Washington just experienced. We'll now go down to the Sugar Bowl, where we'll see Texas and Nebraska go ahead and get after it here shortly, as these two teams actually did meet in the regular season. Texas won that matchup, so we'll see if Texas can beat the same team twice, but Nebraska is no slouch either, and that is one way to set the tone offensively. Late in the first quarter, Julian Sanders, he's going to be streaking down the sideline, and Texas will be on the board first. They'll take a 7-0 lead. And then early in the second quarter, Chase Ingram looking for another big play. He's going to launch it down the field again, has some space, and Texas is just killing him on the outside right now. No answer from the DBs of Nebraska. So offensive coordinator George Gentry, he's going to be in for a long day, especially if his offense can't get going. We'll see what the offensive coordinator has planned, as he'll send up a play action, rolls out his quarterback, gets his receiver out into the open space. And that's Jeremy Jackson creating a very significant gain, a gain of 27 yards. Nebraska is finally getting it going, but shortly after that, they do end up stalling out in the next few plays, so they only get a field goal out of it. Field goals are probably not going to cut it in this type of game, especially with Texas. You know how explosive they can be. There's another first down. Casually on a 3rd and 10, Julian Sanders finds a soft spot in the defense. And now it's another 1st and 10. Texas is at midfield as Chase Ingram has some time in the pocket. He's going to launch another one deep downfield, and this one is intercepted. But that's more on Chase Ingram slightly underthrowing this football. Justin Wheeler making a huge play for Nebraska. And now the Cornhuskers, they're deep in their own territory, but they at least keep it to a 2-possession game. You'll love to see that at the very least. We'll see what this offense can do with 2 minutes left in the first half of action, as they do end up facing a 3rd and 5. Robinson's going to fire over the middle of the field. He has Brent Key for an awesome first down. And finally, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, they're in the red zone. Robinson throws over to the left-hand side and finds Jeremy Jackson in the end zone. Touchdown, Cornhuskers. And Nebraska is right back in the game. And if you're Nebraska's defense, all you have to do is keep them out of the end zone. And they get burnt. They get burnt in the worst way. Walter Sims with a 73-yard grab is now looking at a 1st and goal opportunity, which they will quickly punch in, by the way, as Trey Dixon will end up finding the end zone. Worst part in all of this is that Texas also gets the ball to start the second half, and right out of the second half, it's a lot of the exact same stuff. I mean, George Gentry is just looking in horror, being the offensive coordinator, knowing that, hey, his offense, might need to start pressing a little bit. And Brian Robinson, he certainly felt it on this particular play right here, just trying to make anything happen on the 3rd and 8. And Brian Robinson is going to throw an interception. So now their defense is going to have to try to come up with some sort of play down by the goal line. And that was a massive play by Chase Wise. Texas is very good in the red zone. So the fact that they're able to force them to only kick a field goal is an absolute miracle. However, still down by 21 points in time. Well, that time is going to be of the essence. Luckily, Nebraska is ready for the challenge as they drive down the length of the field and going to finish it off with this big-time run by Eddie Robinson. He certainly had to earn this particular run, and he did on that one there. Solid blocking on the outside as well. Nebraska is back in the game, but their defense has to make some plays. They have to do a better job than what they're doing right now, as Texas is going to respond right away with another touchdown. This time, David Massey is going to get it on the action on the ground. Meanwhile, 4th quarter underway, and Nebraska, they had to punt the football away. Unfortunately, they do down them deep inside their own territory, but it's not mattering right now. Chase Ingram and his passing attack is doing anything that they want right about now, and that's just going to be capitalized by another big throw in the back of the end zone by Walter Sims, and Texas is going to blow Nebraska out of the building. We will see the Texas Longhorns in the semifinal of the college football playoff. So who will Texas be going up against, though? That will be the million-dollar question. Will it be the undefeated conference champions from Conference USA and the Army Black Knights, or will it be this Ohio State Buckeyes football team ranked number 7 in the entire country? We saw them with a blowout victory against Virginia Tech in the 1st round. Let's go ahead and dive right into the action here in the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State, in their first drive of the game, is going to face a 3rd and 13, and Brooks Hicks is going to throw it on a dime to Brandon Burks, who is going to expose the secondary of Army. But Brandon Burks been doing that to everybody. He just set a career record for most receiving yards in a single career at Ohio State. He, depending on what he does in this college football playoff, he could also mess around and be the first Ohio State receiver ever with 4,000 career yards. That would truly be something else, as Drew Manning will finish out the drive for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they will score on their opening drive as well. Not a good start for the Army, because Army, just like in real life, Army likes to run that triple option. Triple options are not good at coming back from behind, right? So defense really needs to step up here, as Ohio State does have yet another red zone opportunity coming up, as Burks is going to run it out and he's going to find the end zone. That's another touchdown for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are going to put the ball in the hands of their best receiver, and that is a brilliant case of that right there. Ohio State is now up 14-0, and things won't get much easier here in this second quarter, as their quarterback, Brooks Hicks, he's going to get out into open space. He's one of those dual threat quarterbacks, dynamic player when he is healthy. And now Ohio State deep in Army territory once again. Hicks, all the time in the world to throw, but that clock is actually going to run out a little bit sooner as Aaron Byers is able to get in there, force the sack, and the Buckeyes do have to settle for a field goal, but an extremely long field goal attempt actually goes down there. I mean, this kick was not a short kick at all. This was a 50 to 55 yarder. That's incredible, especially for a college kicker to pull that off. And it just shows that Ohio State, they were doing nothing but standing on that business. They were certainly standing on business there. As now, late in the third quarter of action, Ohio State looking to put a dagger in the hearts of the Army Academy, and they will do just that with Brentwood in the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State. Brooks Hicks is finally going to get a passing touchdown through the air, and this one was a dime. Had to squeeze that through, had to be perfect accuracy, and it was certainly that, as Ohio State had absolutely no trouble against the Army Black Knights in the Cotton Bowl. They shut out Army 37-0. We should have an amazing game on our hands in the semifinal between them and Texas. So let's go ahead and wrap up the quarterfinals of the college football playoff now. We got UCLA taking on the Seminoles of Florida State. We got a 5 seed taking on a 4 seed, and the winner will not actually be playing the Washington Huskies like expected. It's actually going to be Ole Miss. So the path is open for these two teams to possibly make it into the national championship. That is certainly there. Daryl Boniford, the FCS transfer, though, has other plans, as Boniford is going to take it out onto the corner. He's got elite speed for a quarterback, and he's going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Florida State, and the Seminoles will strike first in the Orange Bowl between number 4 Florida State and the number 5 ranked UCLA Bruins. UCLA will look to respond as we are already in the second quarter. A very low-scoring quarterfinal matchup on our hands right now. Brian Daniels will get 23 yards on the carry. And so, another 1st and 10 coming up. Dropping back. No, it's going to be a handoff. He's got space on the outside, and Jake Cook is going to force his way into the end zone. UCLA, it only took them a quarter and a half to do it, but they will score here in the quarterfinal of the college football playoff. So we have it all knotted up at 7 apiece, but this could be a game-changing moment right here. UCLA picking up a fumble. Florida State was putting together a decent drive as well, but turnovers have been killer. And UCLA is looking to take advantage as they're going to run into Jake Cook on the outside. And Cook, let him cook. Tutty for the UCLA Bruin tailback. And now the Bruins have the lead. How about this effort by Jake Cook? Breaks one tackle, and that was all that he needed to do. Use his speed and athleticism to take care of the rest. And now the Bruins really starting to open it up. They might have found a groove offensively, but I might have spoken just a little bit too soon, to be honest with you. Brandon Thompson, he was sitting there staring down Brian Daniels. And Brian Daniels has been efficient. That is his first incompletion. And it goes to a Florida State defender, of course. So we'll see if he can shake it off like a T Swift song. And he looks like he might be doing that. Kobe Green's going to get a 37-yard grab. That will put the Bruins deep in Seminole territory. But a critical 1-minute drive underway as Daniels has it on space. On the outside to Jake Cook. Cook runs through a defender. And UCLA, well, they are going to score yet again. UCLA will get the touchdown. And we're now looking at a 21-7 affair. Meanwhile, the Florida State Seminoles are just trying to get back into this game. They had a really good opening drive with Daryl Boniford. We'll see if they can finally cook something up with their running game. It's going to be a tough challenge, though. UCLA has been pretty stout on the ground overall, in spite of a couple of big plays. As Bonfer again goes to that triple option, gets it out to his tailback on the outside. But wait a minute, ball's on the ground. Who's going to recover? And it's going to be the true freshman, Reggie Chambers, out of Collierville, Tennessee. He, of all people, is going to get the recovery. And that means Florida State, again, leaving points on the board. And speaking of the turnovers, man, Florida State is absolutely just falling apart right now. I mean, that is what, their 4th turnover in this entire game? Oh man, it just nasty work over here right now. Just absolutely nasty work by Florida State, because Florida State is putting together decent drives. Like, that's been proven time and time again. But when they put those decent drives together, they're always shooting themselves in the foot. That's a perfect example of that. That's turnover number 5 in this game. It's like Florida State doesn't want to go to the semifinals of the college football playoff. And now UCLA, last game of the season for the Seminoles most likely, they are literally blowing their backs out. It's a not so great time right now if you're a Florida State fan. This is what the College Football Playoff Committee thought was going to happen if they were actually put in the real college football playoff. Not saying that they're not deserving, but maybe the NCAA 14 game, maybe it's up to something here, man. As Jeff Phillips going to get to the outside. Huge catch there out on the perimeter. And now a red zone opportunity here once more. Daniels throws to the right-hand side. He's got space on the outside. And another score for UCLA. They're just running away with it right now. A 40-piece on the Florida State Seminoles. And just the last 3 minutes were simply a formality. UCLA is going to blow out Florida State 42-7. And they'll take on Ole Miss in the semifinals of that college football playoff. Oh boy. So that is going to wrap up the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. We are now down to just 4 teams, and we still have seen our fair share of blowouts even in the quarterfinal round. But I think we are starting to get to the most competitive teams in the entire country. And now for these 4 teams, it's plain and simple. It's either put up time or shut up time. But all 4 teams just 2 games away from going and crowning themselves champions of the college football world. But now let's go ahead and dive right into those semifinal matchups. We'll see who earns their way into the national championship. So let's go ahead and dive into the semifinals of the college football playoff. And we have Ole Miss getting ready to go at it against the UCLA Bruins. Should be an exciting semifinal matchup, as both UCLA and this Ole Miss team, well, they're both coming off of some pretty impressive blowouts thus far in the NCSL tournament. We'll see who ends up having more gusto to make it to the national championship game. We'll start with UCLA on their opening drive, as Daniels is going to move into the speed option, breaks a tackle, gets the speed option, pitch off, and now tailback is going to be off to the races. Colby Green's going to pick up an early first down. Good run by the UCLA tailback, as UCLA is trying to put together a solid, steady drive, but facing a 3rd and 6, going to throw to the corner, and it's a dot to Chan Black, able to pick up 18 on the play. As now they face 4th down, they will have to settle for a field goal, but a solid first drive for UCLA, not a liquid or a gas. So the Bruins will take an early lead as Ole Miss gets to the line of scrimmage themselves, trying to answer back here late in the first quarter, and Justin Ferwerda is going to find a gaping hole. He'll pick up a gain of 25 yards on the ground, and that will help him set a school record for most rushing yards in a single season. He could be the first tailback to reach 1,800 yards, depending on what he does for the rest of his game. Archie, however, is going to have to drop back and pass on a 3rd and 19. And he's going to pick up this first down somehow. Stephen Castillo really doing a great job of working that sideline. And now goal line opportunity awaits one that Eric Archie and company will end up converting on, as Ole Miss will take the lead here late in this very first quarter of action. Meanwhile, UCLA has his guys back at the line of scrimmage after being down for the first time in the NCSL playoffs. Brian Daniels is trying to make sure that does not last as long, as Brian Daniels will run for a gain of 20 yards. He's one of those dual threat quarterbacks out there, as they now face a 3rd and long, trying to extend the drive, and no, he's going to extend it. He's going to extend the points scored for UCLA, a 33-yard touchdown to Kobe Green right down the seam. Beautiful throw by Brian Daniels, recognizing that his man did beat him down the seam. And now UCLA will have the lead. So a back and forth affair here early in the Peach Bowl, as Eric Archie will look to answer back. That is a dot thrown to Lewis Kelly, going for a gain of 17 there, as now his Rebels are outside of the red zone. They're going to go with the option. Archie all by himself does not break a tackle, but he will pick up 14 yards there on that run and set up another goal line opportunity. One that Ole Miss has excelled in this ball game, and they will continue to excel as well, especially on 3rd downs as well. Justin Florida will score yet again. He breaks his school record, his old school record for most rushing touchdowns in a single season. So now 14-10 is your score, as Ole Miss does have a chance here in this 3rd quarter to extend their lead. It's been a 1-possession game this entire time so far. Justin Florida and company looking to change that, as that is some willful running by Florida, as he's now closing in on nearly 100 yards on the ground. A couple plays later, though, facing a 3rd and short, he's going to throw a dot to the right-hand side, and it's going to be caught for a touchdown. Ole Miss is going to extend the lead. Charles Rhodes was open in the back of the end zone. And now UCLA, they are certainly facing some adversity. Down 21-10. They're going to need some points, and they're going to need it in a hurry. While it's not as critical, not in the 4th quarter yet, they do want to come away with some points here for sure. Because now, 1st and 10 coming up. Daniels facing some pressure. He's going to be brought down in the backfield. That is going to be Matt Witherspoon getting onto the scorecard for the very first time. And now, facing 2nd and long, Daniels throws to the right-hand side. He's going to get all of those yards back and then some, which now sets up a 3rd and short. Daniels trying to drop back the pass once again, but a free rusher is going to be able to get through. Brian Jones, he'll get his 2nd sack of the ball game. Going to force UCLA to take a 48-yard field goal. Not an easy field goal to make, but their kicker is going to sink it right through the uprights. As full eyes, a great heart, he's going to able to give UCLA a 1-possession differential. But they got to keep Ole Miss out of the end zone here. At least got to get a critical stop for their defense, and that is not how you want to go about it at all. As we now go into the final quarter of action coming up. Ole Miss and UCLA in a thriller. Who is going to punch their ticket into the national championship? So we have 1 quarter to find out, and Ole Miss looks to put a dagger in him. Archie looks over the middle and finds Charles Rhodes, his 2nd receiving touchdown of the day, and Ole Miss might be starting to celebrate, up 28-13 here in this 4th quarter of action. UCLA needs to respond. How can they answer back to the adversity? Do it with a big run by Jake Cook down the sideline. He's been quiet all day today, but he's emerging when it matters the most. Borderline red zone opportunity coming up as Brian Daniels is going to scramble out of the pocket. Breaks 1 tackle. Can he break through a 2nd? No, he cannot. He's going to be dropped right at the goal line. And after a penalty, Daniels will be brought back to the 5-yard line. But it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter, though, because Sean Rivera is going to find the end zone. Touchdown, UCLA. We'll see if they end up going for the 2-point conversion, and they will. Bold strategy for Cotton. We'll see if it works out for him. Daniels, left-hand side, and Sean Rivera with the toe tap. He is going to score, and we now just have ourselves a 1-possession game. After a failed drive by Ole Miss, one that they had to punt the ball away, UCLA now on the field with 2 minutes left. They need a touchdown to at least get this to possibly go to overtime. Kobe Green's going to help with that cause. He now has over 100 yards receiving on the day, and he's going to look to add on to it as well as Jake Cook finds the end zone. Touchdown, UCLA! The Bruins are right back into it, and it looks like we may have overtime in our hands after all. We need extra football to decide who goes to the national championship game. UCLA will start with the football first, and they cannot pick up a first down. So the Bruins will settle for a field goal. The field goal attempt is up, and it's going to be good. But now Ole Miss, if they get a touchdown here, it's going to be over. Eric Archie in the shotgun formation, dropping back. UCLA sends the blitz. It's intercepted. The game is officially over, and UCLA will survive and advance to the national championship game. They will take on the winner of Ohio State and Texas in that national championship game. And speaking of that other semifinal, let's go ahead, not waste any more time. Let's see who wants to go to the national championship more. The Ohio State Buckeyes, who made it to the national championship game last year. Close loss to USC in year number 2. Or will we see Texas, a Texas team that felt like it was snubbed out of the college football playoff back in year number 2. Those memories run cold. And now Texas, one step away from the national championship game. The Longhorns will start with the football. Looking over to the left-hand side, Chase Ingram's going to dump it off to his tailback. And his tailback, David Massey, is going to do some good work there. A 17-yard reception. As we do have Trey Dixon. Trey Dixon is hurt, so he is not playing in the semifinal game. But it looks like it will not matter early on, as Chase Ingram is going to throw a dot to Cody Berg. Cody Berg was one, but naked open, and Texas will take an early lead. How will Ohio State respond, though? 6 minutes left here in the first quarter as their backup quarterback is in. Brooke Hicks actually got hurt in the quarterfinal matchup. So here is Vincent Gold taking over. He's going to try to roll out on the play action. And that's the difference between a starter and a backup. Starter got to make some easier throws. Backup just wasn't thinking with his head. I mean, he was covered very well by Danny Johnson. He was like cheese on macaroni. He was covered. Blanketed, I would say. So Texas is able to add a couple of field goals after that. A dominant first quarter overall for Texas, but they didn't quite get that death blow in over those next couple of drives. Ohio State is certainly in this game, but they got to start putting points up on the board. Texas can score in an absolute heartbeat as Vincent Gold trying to push the ball down the length of the field, but he will end up throwing yet another interception. Thankfully, this Ohio State defense, it is doing a great job of holding strong, because, man, a lot of defenses would have broken by now. Not this Ohio State team. And now, this might be the spark that they're looking for, as that is a beautiful pitch out to Mr. Carter. Hey, Mr. Carter, how have you been? As now, second quarter is coming out. Vincent Gold's going to hand it off to the tailback, Jonathan Sherman. And he's going to run like a Sherman tank, running over defenders into the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State. And the Buckeyes are officially on the board. Just a determining run by Jonathan Sherman, who's a certified bad man. But so is Chase Ingram. Chase Ingram getting ready to go to work once again. He's going to throw over to the right-hand side and throws a dot to Cody Berg. Out of bounds, but Cody Berg is already at over 100 yards on the day. So Chase Ingram is in the midst of running the 2-minute offense as Ingram's going to throw a dime to the right-hand side, and that's going to be found in the end zone. Touchdown, Walter Sims. Walter Sims, who had a magnificent quarterfinal performance. Well, he will find the end zone yet again here in the semifinals of the college football playoff. However, Ohio State will look to add points of their own going into the halftime locker room. This is a big drive for Ohio State, and the Buckeyes, they will answer back. Vincent Gold, who had a turbulent first half, having 3 first half turnovers. Well, he's going to throw a dime toward the end of the first half. And Ohio State is back in the game, and they even get the ball to start the second half as well. We'll see what Vincent Gold and company can do. Going to start by throwing out to the right-hand side to Michael Charles, who will get them to midfield. And it leads to a steady drive for Ohio State. One that could end in Ohio State touchdown. It does. Jonathan Sherman will find the end zone for the second time today. So Ohio State will have the lead. But this Texas offense can score at any given moment. That's been paramount so far this year, and Texas got some playmakers on the outside. Down the sideline, Walter Sims gets pushed out for a 42-yard gain. And that is how you let this Texas offense go to work. They are explosive, and they have great field position. Oh, it's barbecue chicken. Kobe Berg could have certainly told you that. Chase Ingram's able to get an easy passing touchdown yet again. Just his receivers just make it look so dang easy. He's going to find the end zone once more. And so Texas, they were going to actually go for this 2-point conversion here. Going on the ground with Derek Hawthorne. Haven't seen his name much all year long, but he'll make an impact here in the semifinal. Able to get a 7-point lead. And Ohio State had to punt it away on their next possession. So the defense had to make a play, and they finally make one. Chase Ingram fakes a critical mistake, and Ohio State now has a chance to tie. Down by the goal line, and they're going to punch it in. Touchdown, Ohio State. Drew Manning will nod things up with the number 2 team in America and the team that is going to be undefeated. So we could go down to just this final quarter. Whoever wins this quarter is going to go to the national championship game. Who wants it more? Is it this Ohio State team who's able to get a decent drive going but can't finish? They do have to settle for a field goal. Kick is up, and it's going to be good. Ohio State leads 31-28. But then, a couple minutes later, though, Texas putting a drive of their own. And once again, a big-time throw down the seam. That has been a staple of the Texas offense all year long. And it's no different here. Tanner Harris will eventually find the end zone for the Texas Longhorns. Chase Ingram has been dealing today. 4 passing touchdowns here in this evening. And it looks like Texas will be the ones that will go to the national championship game to take on UCLA. Texas wins this one 35-31, ends up being your score. So now we come down to just one individual game. We've seen a very brutal 12-game college football playoff, narrowing it down from the 12 teams that started all the way down to 2. Will it be UCLA? Will it be Texas that will win your national champion? One thing's for certain, we will have a new king crowned. The only question now is, who's it going to be? Let's go ahead now and dive into the national championship of year number 3 of the NCSL College Football Playoff. So let's go ahead and now dive into the national championship game between number 5 UCLA and the number 2 ranked Texas Longhorns. Texas, a team that was expected to be here, but UCLA, you cannot say the same thing. UCLA was a team that had to play in the first round games. had their grinder way through here, went through Florida State. They also went through Ole Miss. And now here they are in the national championship game as Texas is going to try to get the first points on the scoreboard. But we will have to wait a little bit longer for that to happen, as it seems like both teams are just a little bit on that nervous side here in this national championship game. And we actually had to wait till the second quarter until we saw even the opportunity for points to be scored. It looks like UCLA could change all of that, as it looks like Jake Cook was pushed out of bounds right before getting to that pylon. So 3rd and goal now. We'll see if the Texas defense can hold strong, and it will not. Gavin McLaughlin is going to get the first points of the national championship game, and the UCLA Bruins, they will strike first. So the Texas Longhorns have been held shut out thus far. We'll see if UCLA can continue the strong defensive play, but Texas just simply has too many high-level playmakers on their team in order to allow that to happen. And eventually Texas will start to find a groove offensively. Might be seeing it now here as, hang on now, wait a minute, Chase Ingram gets sacked on a 3rd down. So Texas has to settle for a field goal? Are you kidding me right now? Wow, this is a little bit of a surprise. Not that UCLA is winning. I'm not the most surprised by that. It's just that it's a defensive-minded game. That is what I did not see coming whatsoever. And UCLA now has a chance to take a 2-score lead into the halftime locker room. And how about this running by Jake Cook? Absolutely nasty right now. Is going to be eventually forced out, but will get to midfield eventually there as well. As UCLA putting together a strong drive. They again hand it off to Jake Cook, who's going to be in open space up the middle of the field. And Jake Cook gets brought down, but not before a gain of 25 yards. Jake Cook, by the way, almost has 100 yards on the ground. We'll see if they go back to him yet again, as it looks like instead they try to do an option pass, and it works terribly. Eric Robinson's going to get the sack, and the drive will end up stalling out. So UCLA will have to settle for yet another field goal. Field goal attempt is going to be good, and UCLA will take a 10-3 lead into the halftime locker room. But late in the 3rd quarter, though, Texas with a chance to tie the ball game. There is that Texas offense that we have seen throughout the course of this entire playoff run. They know a thing or two about getting those explosive plays down the length of the field. It is certainly no different there at all. So now a tied ball game here at 10-all, as 10-10 will be your score, as we are looking at UCLA and Texas absolutely duking it out right now. Jake Cook again getting another big time run. He's closing in on close to 200 yards rushing in this game, as Cook drops back, looks around, fires over the right hand side, finds his receiver, and it's going to be Stephen Edwards making the catch, leading into the 4th quarter of action. Tied at 10, points have been a premium, and in a game where points have been such a premium, like I said, that touchdown could ultimately be the difference, depending on what Texas does here. 7:50 left to play in the ball game. To decide, a national champion, Ingram, trying to go deep down the right-hand side, but the DBs were ready, and it's going to be intercepted by the UCLA defensive backfield. That was Matt Williams that got his hands on the ball, and now UCLA could possibly put the death blow in the Texas Longhorns. And sure enough, Daniels with a big run up the gut. He will end up picking up a 1st down there, but they can't do anything after that. They have to settle for yet another field goal. So it leaves the door just a little bit more open for this Texas team. However, less than 2 minutes left, down by 2 possessions. You have your work cut out for you. We'll see if Texas can pull off the miraculous, as they do drive down the length of the field in short order, luckily. But Ingram will pick up his finally a passing touchdown. Damon Nichols, a bit tougher day for Chase Ingram. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not his best day today, but that touchdown will cut it to a 1-possession lead, and all would be forgiven, and Texas can find a way to capture this onside kick. But unfortunately, the bounce on the onside kick was not good enough. Chad Black will able to get the recovery on the onside kick, and UCLA, they're going to hang on. Big reason for that is Jake Cook. It's been a great day for him, and this will be a day that UCLA athletics will remember for a long time, as UCLA will pull the upset off in the national championship game. They will beat the Texas Longhorns in a defensive fight. The Bruins will end up winning 23-17. And this UCLA program has been close in the past. They were runners-up for the national championship all the way back in year number 1. And now here they are in year number 3, hosting that crystal ball to their names and handing Texas their first and only loss of their entire college football season. So congratulations to the UCLA Bruins. They are your champions of year number 3. But the NCSL content, well, that never stops. Next episode, we will have a juicy one, as we will have the offseason recap here in that next episode. It's a great opportunity for you guys to not only get your custom players and your custom coaches as well, but we go through all the activities that come with the off season, including checking out the award winners, your All-Americans, and so much more. So next episode, we will start gearing up for year number 4. Thank you guys so much for enjoying this series. And if you have been enjoying this series, I need you guys to go ahead and do me a massive favor. Go ahead and smack that like button for me. And then also hit the subscribe button as well if you do have to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. Hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.